Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie and this is That Grim Reader. In today's video we are going to be tackling the first of my top 10 lists of the year, starting with the negativity. Get it out of the way. We're going to do the top 10 worst books of 2023, according to me. The first one is only really on here because I only had 9 that I actively disliked. This one I actually rounded up to a 3-star on Goodreads, so it seems a bit mean putting it on here, but we're going to do it anyway. And that is In the Miso Soup by Rouge Murakami. It's set in Japan and we follow a guy called Kenji who is a guide to American tourists, and he'll take them around all the seedy brothels and strip clubs and whatever these creepy old American dudes want to do. And it's around New Year and Kenji gets this client called Frank, and loads of women are showing up dead. Well, not even just women, just people. People are showing up dead and Kenji starts to suspect that it might be Frank that is doing them all in. So we follow Kenji as he shows Frank around all the seedy parts of Tokyo, and yeah, Frank's just, what I didn't like about it was anytime Frank really spoke, it was just so weird the way he talked about himself. It just was really off-putting. I don't know if it was the translation or if that's how it is in the original Japanese, but yeah, the plot itself was fine. The gore didn't put me off. I don't have an issue with that stuff. It's just, yeah, I found it, the way Frank spoke just really took me out of the experience quite a bit. But it was interesting. It's not bad. A load of people seem to love this, so if you want to read it, give it a go, but it wasn't for me. Next, I'm going to quickly go over one that I mentioned in my 30 books in 30 days video, which is The End, Surviving the World Through Imagined Disasters by Katie Go. It is a non-fiction about how this author used disaster movies and that kind of thing to help her cope with the pandemic, and it was very surface level. It was very just nothingy. I can hardly even remember my complaints about it anymore, and it's only been a couple of weeks. It was just boring, which is almost worse than it being bad. At least a bad book gives you something interesting to say about it, but this was just a waste of my time. Even though it only took me like an hour to read, it was still a waste of an hour. That's part of my life I'm never getting back. It's part of the 404 Inklings series, and there have been a few in there that I've quite enjoyed, so like the one about Prince and all his, like, analysing all of his outfits, that was pretty fun. But yeah, this one was not it for me. These aren't also going from least bad to most bad. I probably should have organised it that way, but it's too late now. Then we have another one that I did actually mention in that same video, which again, I'll be super brief, is Along the Saltwise Sea by A. Deborah Baker, who is Shauna Maguire. This one was, again, I think this is meant for children though, so I feel bad putting it on here, but it is following a couple of kids who climb over a wall and end up in a magical world, and they're trying to escape and make their way home. They meet loads of characters that are vaguely interesting, but the first book I quite liked, I didn't mind it, but this one, it didn't feel like there was any progression in the story or the plot or the characters or just anything. It seemed like an absolute waste of a book. So I'm giving up on this series now. I'm just gonna wait for Wayward Children. It's fine. I don't need another novella series. Then we have The Marriage Act by John Mars. This one is set in, I don't know if it's slightly in the future or just a slightly different version of Britain, but there has been a marriage act passed in which people who, if you don't get married, you don't get free healthcare and loads of other, that basically, yeah, you sort of need to get married in order to access better schools, better healthcare, all that kind of stuff. But also, you have to be in a real marriage. You can't just be in a marriage of convenience. You've got to, there's devices in your house listening to how you interact, and if you argue too much or anything like that, then you get put on like a watch list, and you can have some sort of investigator guy come out and live with you to assess your relationship and whether it's salvageable or not. And the premise I found really interesting, but the execution was tedious and the twist at the end was pointless. I've read quite a few John Marrs books now, and I really liked the one. I gave that 5 stars. And I've liked a couple of his non-sci-fi-ish, a couple of the ones that don't have a sci-fi twist I've quite enjoyed as well. But this one, for some reason, I just didn't get on with it that well. It was okay. Again, I wouldn't tell you not to read it, but I would not recommend it either. So, yeah. Then we have it's not a romance. I don't think there's actually romance in it, but I think when I picked this up, I thought it was a romance. It is Time After Time by Louise Pentland. This is one that I just bought for super cheap in the works for £2 because I was going on holiday with my friends and I just wanted something nice and easy and, you know, nothingy to read. It was nothingy. It fulfilled that purpose. We follow a girl whose name I cannot even remember, and she works in a little antique shop, and she's so quirky and cool, and she loves vintage things. And then she finds a magic ring or a magic something that sends her back in time to the 80s, and she befriends a girl who works in a travel agency, and she's just figuring out her life and finding herself, basically. It's fine. It's not my thing. If you like that kind of thing, I don't know if it's a good version of that, but it gave me something to do while I was sat on the beach, I guess. But, yeah, so unmemorable. I love the 80s. I wanted it to be more packed full of 80s references to make it a bit more fun, but it was just a bit bland. Am I being really mean in this video? I don't think I am. Maybe. But yeah, it was fine. It was £2. I don't feel that ripped off. Then we have Rouge by Mona Awad. Awad? Sure. This is about a girl who loses her mum. She dies. Sleeps her down the back of the sofa, and they're estranged, and she moves back to her mum's house temporarily to help sort out her affairs, and she finds out that her mum was part of this weird beauty, almost cult-like place, and she starts going there too. That part I found kind of interesting, but then there were flashbacks to her childhood where she imagined Tom Cruise talking to her through a mirror, and it was just... I get that Mona Awad's writing is weird and fever dreamy, and I didn't love Bunny either, to be fair, so maybe the author's not for me. All's Well was pretty fun, but I don't know. I thought I was gonna love it. It sounded great, it sounded up my alley, but I didn't care about any of the characters. It was just, yeah, kind of a mess. It was split into like 5 parts, and I think the first part and the last part I kind of enjoyed, like would have given them 3.5 stars probably, but the middle portion was so, it dragged on forever. It felt pointless, but some people are giving this 5 stars, so I think maybe it just went over my head. Maybe I didn't get it. But yeah, for me, definitely one of the worst things I've read this year. Then, another book that I have mentioned in a previous video, The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson. I think I'm still mad about the trifle thing. If you know, you know. If you want to know, you can go watch my very merry reading vlog or whatever I called that video. The main character was so infuriating. She was supposed to be late teens and she acted like a 12-year-old girl. It was tedious to read. I was hoping she'd get, just so I didn't have to listen to her anymore. Just didn't even tell you the premise about this one, did I? It's about a girl who, she's an American living in London, studying something, I don't know. She gets invited by her friend to her fancy family's house for Christmas, and she has a big crush on her friend's twin. They all go out to the pub together, and someone in the pub freaks out when they see the main character because she looks just like their daughter who got murdered recently, and they think the hot twin brother did the murder. So now we're trying to figure out, oh, is the girl at risk? Is she in trouble? Is she gonna die? Hopefully. You have to read it and find out, I guess. It just, yeah, I didn't care. And then the second half sort of was entirely pointless. There was absolutely no need. It was only a novella, so it wasn't too egregious, but it was just tedious, and it didn't even feel festive or fun. It was supposed to be Christmassy. There was nothing Christmassy about it. Where was the tinsel? Hey, where was the figgy pudding? What even is figgy pudding? I don't know. Next we have Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders. This is a thriller mystery kind of book, which I think made it to the Good Readers' Choice, which how I do not know, because that was a popularity contest and I can't see why this book would be popular. It was stupid. We follow who do we follow? I don't know her name. We follow her woman who has married an older man and they've just had a baby together. The older man has an estranged adult daughter who suddenly comes back into their lives and she wants to babysit the baby. And is she hurting the baby? Can she be trusted? Is the mum just going mad? Who's the bad guy? It was just like there's loads of twists for the sake of twists. None of it really made sense. I didn't even care. Usually, even if I'm reading a thriller, a twist will make me vaguely interested for a bit. No. Every time there was a twist, I was like, oh God, here we go again. I just wanted it to be over. It was just boring. Don't get why people love this. I did tell you what it was about. See, I can't even remember the synopsis. I told you about it 20 seconds ago and I've already forgotten. It's just crap. Then we have Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with Fresh Bite, I think. It's over there somewhere. Also, these are all the books I'm unhauling. They're the only books I have left in my house because, as I've mentioned 400,000 times, I am moving house. The shower broke again. So, you know, this time the plumber had not, because you care obviously, this time the plumber had not connected the waste pipe from the plug in the bath shower thing to, you know, the outside world, the drain or whatever. So I had a shower yesterday at the new house, trying it out, fun times, stepped out of the blooming bath shower into an inch of water. That was a fun time. So, yeah. It's fine, it's sorted now. Hopefully moving there officially this weekend, and then I can stop bugging you all going, I'm moving house soon, and I can actually be going, oh, I've moved house recently, and that can be my excuse for chaos and books being everywhere. Anyway, the next book is Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with Fresh Bite, edited by Natalie C. Parker and Zoraida Cordova. I think this is a YA collection, which is maybe why I didn't love it. But I'm usually into short stories, and I don't think a single one of these actually really did anything for me. I literally can't remember any of them now. In fact, let me look it up. 11 diverse vampire stories from YA's leading voices, including V. Schwab's First Kill, soon to be a major Netflix adaptation. In this delicious new collection, you'll find stories about lurking vampires of social media, rebellious vampires hungry for more than just blood, eager vampires coming out and going out for their first kill, other bold, breathtaking, dangerous, dreamy, eerie, iconic, powerful creatures of the night. Welcome to the evolution of the vampire and a revolution on the page. So it includes authors such as Samira Ahmed, Donielle Clayton, Zoraida Cordova, Natalie C. Parker, Tessa Grattan, Heidi Heilig, Julie Murphy, Mark Oshiro, Rebecca Roanhorse, Laura Ruby, V. Schwab, and Kayla Whaley. I don't even know most of those, but I don't read YA. So it's a little unfair of me to put it on here, but again, I love a short story collection. Even a bad one usually has at least one standout story that I can point to and be like, yeah, it's not great, but read this one story at least. No. Maybe I assume the one that's been made into a Netflix adaptation is good, but can't remember now. I know. I thought it sucked because vampires. Yeah, I don't have anything more to say on that matter. And finally, probably my least favourite book I read this year is Babel / Babel by R.F. Kuang. I will preface this by saying I don't read fantasy, but it was barely fantasy really. The reason I don't read fantasy is because of my aphantasia. I struggle to picture things that I haven't seen in real life. Well, I can't picture things I have seen in real life, but I understand them at least. So, but yeah, this was all language based and I find language fascinating, so this should have been up my street or my alley. When I read it, it felt like a really unpopular opinion to dislike this book, but I have seen more people speaking out and saying they weren't a fan. As previous people have said, the very heavy-handedness of the anti-colonialism stuff was a bit much, but it's fine. Sometimes being heavy-handed is necessary, but just as a story in and of itself, the characters were boring. When something tragic happens, you're supposed to care. I did not care even a little bit. I was not attached to anyone. The only reason I finished this book is because I was buddy reading it with a friend over on Instagram and she was also hating it, so that it was kind of fun to hate read it a little bit. But it's about, if you don't know, it's about, what's it even about? It is about a young boy called Robin who is brought over to England to be taught how to be a good proper English lad, taken away from his family. His family were killed. Anyway, sent to Oxford to work at this magical language place. Like I say, the magic itself, the silver working part, I found actually really interesting. I wanted more of that. It was the boring, tedious character. Robin wasn't interesting to follow. He was a bit whingy, but I don't know. I did enjoy some of the footnotes and stuff. That made it a bit more interesting, actually. Yeah, it was very just dry, and the story felt like it was plodding on. It seemed like we weren't getting anywhere. I don't even have the motivation to say anything about it. It was just dull. Please tell me if you also disliked this book, because I did actually just check Goodreads and it has like a 4.22 rating, so it's clearly very well loved still. So, I haven't read anything else by R.F. Kuang. The Poppy War books don't interest me. Kind of interested in Yellowface, but how much I disliked Babel puts me off reading that a little bit, because I've heard that's equally heavy-handed in its messaging and stuff, which again is fine, but are the characters interesting in that one at least? If you disliked Babel but liked Yellowface, let me know, because I would love to have the motivation to give that a shot. And that's it. Those are my 10 least favourite books of the year. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. What is the worst book you've read this year? Thank you so much for watching my video and liking, subscribing and doing all of the things. I I'm really excited by the fact that my channel's growing very slowly, but still growing every week. And yeah, it's been about a month now that I've been doing this and still having a great time. I will catch you in the next, hopefully slightly less negative video. Bye.